Again. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speakers, Myra Oney and Kim Ramos. Myra is a certified holistic health coach and certified brain longevity specialist, as well as a Reiki master teacher. Myra focuses her practice on helping clients prevent memory loss and maintain their mental acuity and overall health. Kim is a registered nurse, national board certified health and wellness coach, and a certified brain longevity specialist. She has a passion for helping others understand how lifestyle choices impact health and longevity. Both Myra and Kim are coaches for our Sharpen Your Mind, Enhance Your Life 6 Weeks to a Better Brain coaching program. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Myra.
Okay, well, thank you, Joan. And I just need to figure out why this is not working the way it should. Okay. So thank you for joining us all today, and thanks for that wonderful introduction, Joan. And just to sort of recap a little bit of what Joan said about Sharp again, for those of you who may not be familiar with our organization, we have been around for 14 years. And our mission is to educate, empower, and support everyone to take an active role in optimizing their cognitive health using a scientifically based multi-therapeutic approach. That's a mouthful. Basically, what this means is that our mission really is to educate people about the causes, possible causes of dementia, and and sort of to educate you in the many different ways, the many different things that can cause dementia. Hence the multi-therapeutic approach. Okay, it's not usually just one thing that causes these brain changes. It is many things, and that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. Our vision. Well, our vision is we envision a world where dementia can be prevented, treated, and even reversed, and where everyone has the ability to remain cognitively healthy throughout their lives. Okay. Our vision is a world where there is no such thing as dementia. There's no fear of losing your memory, um, so that we can all live our lives to our best ability. So what you're going to hear about today. Today we're going to talk about normal versus cognitive decline, normal aging versus cognitive decline. Okay, what's normal and what is not. When do you need to start maybe paying attention to your brain health? What you can do now to stay sharp. We're going to talk about some very specific steps you can take. The root causes of memory loss. As I mentioned in the previous slide, memory loss can be seen clinically as a change in the brain, but there are reasons why that happens. And knowing those reasons can empower you to take steps to either reverse that or stop it from beginning. And you're going to leave today with one or more action steps. This is why we presented you with the worksheet to download, or we ask, please have a piece of paper, a pen or a pencil, so that you can make some notes as well as do a little bit of work that we're going to present you later on that will give you some action steps to take back with you. So dementia is not normal aging. Okay. So just to kind of go through this really quickly, we have normal cognition, right? That's when you are having no issues at all with your memory. There are no detectable changes through any kind of testing. You don't notice anything different happening, and neither does your patient, neither does your family, your friends, your coworkers. Subjective cognitive impairment is when there are brain changes without measurable symptoms on a test. So you might begin to notice that there are things that are not quite right. Um, and maybe you're starting to worry about it. Maybe you lose things more often. Maybe you're forgetting more appointments. Maybe you have to give yourself more reminders. So you're kind of noticing that things are different. It's not affecting your lifestyle. It's not affecting your work or your relationships. And the doctor can't tell that there's anything wrong on a test. But well, maybe you can. Mild cognitive impairment is when the cognitive changes become a concern to you or your family or your coworkers. In other words, people are noticing, and you're noticing even more that there are issues. Now, losing your keys, misplacing things, these are relatively normal things about aging. We do start to, as we get older, yeah, things do start to kind of drop away, and we may need to compensate more for it. Um, but when cognitive changes start to happen and you don't really notice, I wouldn't say you won't notice if there's anything wrong, but things like, let's say, someplace where you drive all the time, say the grocery store that you always go to. Maybe one day you're getting in the car, you go to the grocery store, and all of a sudden you can't remember how to get there. Or you get in the car and you can't remember where you're going. Or you have a meeting with somebody and you don't remember that you even met with them. These are signs and signals of mild cognitive impairment. So you can still carry on your daily life, but there are definitely gaps, and your doctor can probably.
Kim, do you want to pick up from there, maybe? Oh, no.
Right. No, and,
Myra,
and this
Oops. You froze,
Myra, you
Myra.
froze for a bit.
this is where I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you, but you're a little choppy. I think it's an internet connection.
Okay. Let me just, this dementia is cognitive impairment severe enough to interfere with everyday abilities. So this is where you're not able to basically live on your own. You have to have help all the time, and your memory issues are severe. So is this better now?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
you had frozen.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to take a look at this same information quickly in a graph. We see cognitive decline on the left and the time in years on the right. So the first thing this shows is normal aging, right? Everybody ages differently. There is a normal subtle decline um, in in the cognition as we get older. But generally speaking, it doesn't. If everything is fine, everything is normal. Yes, you notice small things, but you can spend most of your life in just in the normal effects of aging. Preclinical is where some point your cognition begins to go down, and once again it can be different for everybody, and people may stay in that preclinical stage for most of their lives, where yes, it's a little bit your memory is a little bit worse than with normal aging, but it's not dementia. Mild cognitive impairment, as you can see here, is starts a much steeper decline. So this is where you start noticing that you're having some memory issues, and this is exactly the point at which you want to begin taking steps, which we're going to talk about in a minute. From mild cognitive decline, you can see that there is an even sharper dive if there is no action taken from mild cognitive impairment to moderate cognitive impairment to severe cognitive impairment and dementia. And this line kind of shows you an idea about where that cutoff line starts to happen, where you move from normal functioning and routine activities to not being able to function without assistance. So yeah, so what we are looking at here is before we get to this line, between where you first start noticing the mild cognitive impairment, there's a little bit of a decline there. This is where you can really start taking action.
Right. And so, really, what we're focusing on is switching to a prevention mindset. So, we've learned so much about some of the causes and risk factors related to dementia over the last several years. And while there isn't a cure for Alzheimer's or dementia, we know that we can slow it down, we can stop it, in some cases reverse it, when we're able to focus on those 14 different identifiable risk factors and lifestyle factors that have been identified most recently. And we're going to address a lot of those today. But what used to happen was when people were diagnosed with dementia, they were told there was really nothing you can do about it. So we're sorry, we don't have a cure, go home, get your affairs in order. And it's generally a 2 to 10 year decline of the progression of the disease. And of course, this led to people being afraid, to denying what was going on, to wishing it away, to becoming more isolated from friends and family, being depressed. And we know that all of those things can actually hasten or make the decline worse. But there really is hope. That's why we're here today. We've got an exciting message that we know that because of the lifestyle factors, the things that we're going to talk about, we can probably prevent up to 45% of the Alzheimer's cases. And at this point in time, in 2025, 7.2 million people were affected with Alzheimer's disease over the age of 65. And that's projected to increase to nearly 3 million in 2050. But again, the good news is we can each one of us, take steps to make difference in our brain health. We can share this information with other people, and we can work on preventing those numbers from being so high. We'll go ahead and switch the slide. Thank you. So if you don't have that worksheet out, or if you have a piece of paper, I would like you to use this to write down anything that comes up today that's of interest to you, maybe some new ideas. A lot of what you hear may not be new. It will be things you may have already known about. But what we really want you to do is just kind of take an assessment of your behaviors and what's going on in your life today. And then as you do that, make some notes. What can I do actually, how are my habits? What can I do to support my brain health? And where might I maybe able to make some adjustments? So feel free to, again, put questions in the chat and use your notes. So go ahead. There you go. So let's first briefly talk about the lifestyle factors that we know are the 6 pillars of brain health. These 6 things are all interactive, but they all have to do with habits that we have for living daily. And these pillars are what we're called neuroprotective. So each one of them helps promote healthy brain function when we're doing it well. We know that when people are, and I'll cover these really quickly, when these aspects of their life are going well, then we know that healthy brain functions and memories are going to be the result. We also know that from increasing studies, that when people who have mild cognitive impairment, who are at a higher risk for dementia, have made improvements in these 6 lifestyle areas, that their memories may have improved. They may have actually improved in cognitive testing, and they're feeling better. So what are those 6 things? Sleep. Oh, Myra's you want to pop them all up. And
I'll go back. There we go.
That's okay. So sleep. Sleep is one of them. Sleep is a very important neuroprotective habit that we all have. And it's really important that all of us adults get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. It becomes harder to sleep well and get that much sleep when we get older. Sometimes we think we don't need that much sleep, but we truly do to optimize our brain health. The next one is nutrition. And what we're talking about with nutrition is a very plant forward. So fruits, vegetables, lots of fiber, whole food, plant-based or predominant diet, Mediterranean diet. We'll talk more about the specifics, but food actually helps heal our bodies, keeps our brain healthy. And so it's really important that we have good eating habits. Exercise. Exercise is another one of these lifestyle habits. With exercise, we are getting good blood flow and nutrition, oxygen, glucose to our brain. Blood flow to the brain also helps clear out toxins. Exercise just improves overall our entire life and quality of life. And so we'll talk more about how much we need and the three parts of it, which are cardiovascular exercise, strength training, and then strength training, stability, and flexibility, balance, flexibility. And then mental activity. So in terms of mental activity, I love this quote by Henry Ford. And forgive me because I wasn't flipping my papers here, but it's a really good one and I wanted to share it with you. I don't have it memorized. What he says about learning. And it's a perfect segue. Sorry about that. Where is it here? So Henry Ford said, anyone who stops learning is old. Whether you're 20 or 80, anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. And that really is the essence of mental activity. We have to keep learning new things, doing new things, learning hobbies, music, all kinds of things, because that mental stimulation actually keeps our brain growing, keeps it going strong. And when we kind of forget about it, when we don't push ourselves anymore, that leads to more decline of our brain. So we'll talk more about mental activity. Stress. Who doesn't have stress these days? It's part of life for everyone. And so understanding that it's not just acute stress or stress that happens in the moment, but it's this buildup of chronic stress over time from a lot of different factors that eventually causes problems with increased cortisol in our body, increased inflammation, and ultimately a decline in our brain health. And so we have to recognize what are things that cause stress for us and how can we mitigate that. We'll talk a little bit more in detail. And then finally, the last one is social activity. So we, as human beings, are tribal people. We know that we not only thrive, but we survive better in community. And so it is really important. We're learning that there's a higher incidence of dementia risk when people are lonely. So we'll talk more about that also. Okay.
Hey, thank you, Kim. So in addition to the lifestyle factors that Kim just talked about, here at Sharp Again, we've also identified, along with our medical advisory board, other possible things that can be root causes of dementia. And I just want to mention these to you here today. If you go onto our website and you download our Roadmap to a Sharper Mind, that document, that booklet goes into these areas in much more detail, but I do want to make you aware of them. The first thing is toxins in food, water, air, and work at home. So this is everything from fertilizers and other toxins in food to water that is not clean, air that is polluted, and just things around your house. Candles, maybe candles with a lead wick. Maybe you just painted something or got new furniture and it's off-gassing toxins. And also mold. Okay, mold is possibly one of the biggest toxins that people that can really affect your cognitive health. So toxins, hormonal imbalances, the thyroid and sex hormones, as well as others, but these are the big ones, especially thyroid. A thyroid imbalance can show up as symptoms of dementia. So making sure that your thyroid is healthy, that you're taking medication if needed, can really make a difference. If you're experiencing memory issues, it might be hormones. Inflammation from low-level infection and other sources, Lyme's disease, long-term COVID, and one thing, especially as we get older, is chronic undiagnosed UTIs. Especially in the elderly, chronic undiagnosed UTIs very, very often will present with symptoms of dementia. Heavy metal toxicity. So this would be anything from the fillings in your teeth to lead in your water, and also other types of toxicity that come from cookware. If you use nonstick cookware, that can be very toxic, as well as, of course, lead paint. There are all kinds of heavy metal toxicities that we are exposed to. Aluminum, which is something that we obviously find quite a bit of aluminum in cookware. trauma, both physical and emotional trauma. So this would be anything from, and it could be either physical, either and or physical and emotional trauma that you experienced as a child that has simply taken a lifetime to begin to manifest itself as a cognitive issue. And the last one is the effects of medication. And once again, this is so many medications have as a side effect, especially sleeping, things to help with sleep, have memory loss as a side effect. And do not at all advocate you going to your medicine cabinet and throwing out your medications. But you might want to speak with your doctor or your pharmacist if you're having memory issues, and especially if you can tie them to beginning a medication. This is a place where people frequently will find that if they stop or change a medication, that they will experience much more mental clarity. So the thing about these particular issues are that they really do require the intervention of a medical professional. You need to be tested and evaluated for each of these things. It's not really something you can do on your own. So if anything here rings a bell for you, then put that on your notes and say, I think I need to talk to my doctor about this because this could be an issue. Now we want to go back to those lifestyle factors that we were talking about, because the thing about lifestyle factors is here's where you can actually do something for yourself. Most likely you don't need to consult a doctor or have any particular testing done to know that there are some changes that you can make in your life might help your mental clarity. And the first one is nutrition. This is a big one. We have been programmed to eat the way we eat from childhood. And we have, perhaps have tried to make changes and have made some successfully, perhaps some not so successfully. But nutrition, and each of these we're giving a very high level overview because each of these subjects are, you can dive into much more deeply. But this is just to make you aware of what these things are and maybe what you can do. So nutrition, you want to focus on eating whole, unprocessed foods. That means choosing whole foods like fresh fruit, a rainbow of vegetables and leafy greens. And the big thing is to try to reduce your dependence on processed foods. So processed foods would basically be pretty much anything that comes in a box and or in a can, but even more in a box. I mean, obviously a can of rice-a-roni is a huge thing of processed food. One things you can do is to learn to read labels. Okay, if you eat a lot of processed foods, if you eat a lot of cereals or foods in a box, learn to read the label and choose the product that has the fewest number of ingredients in it. But really, what you want to do is to choose whole foods. Shop the perimeter of the grocery store. That's where you find your fresh produce, your meats, your fresh dairy products, and save the interior of the grocery store for toilet paper and laundry detergent. This may require you, if you're not a cook, this may require you learning how to cook or to cook differently. But nutrition is a huge subject, and it's one that we talk about a lot at Sharp Again. We do, if you want to research a particular type of eating of diet, we do recommend the MIND diet, which is a combination of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. So, and a lot of people find the MIND diet to be very doable because it's a little gentler than either the Mediterranean diet or the DASH diet. So that's one you could look into. Okay, so the next thing is hydration. So water is so essential, right? Our bodies are over 90% water. We need water to deliver all the nutrients from our foods. And even more importantly, which maybe we don't think about so much, is we need that water to help remove toxins from our brains as well as our other organs. The water helps remove all of the things that may be causing inflammation or toxic buildup. As we get older, being properly hydrated gets harder and harder. And sometimes you may need to actually, because for one thing, as we get older, we lose our thirst reflex. So we may need to become more aware of our need to drink water. And of course, the question always is, how about my coffee? How about my tea? How about my fruit juice? No, we're talking here about water. It can be water with a little bit of citrus in it. It can also be an herbal tea that does not contain sugar. But water, just plain water, boring as it is really the very best thing. A 12-hour overnight fast. So this is something you may have heard of intermittent fasting. And basically a 12-hour overnight fast allows the brain cells and the gut microbiome an opportunity for recovery and renewal. Okay, in other words, it gives your body a chance to rest. It gives your digestive system a chance to rest. When you're digesting when you're digesting your body is not cleansing. Your brain is not cleansing. There are things that happen at night with the glial cells come out. They say they come out to play. They're like the little janitors, right? They come into your brain and they help repair brain cells, but mostly clean it out. If you are digesting food, then that doesn't happen. And there are a lot of other biochemical processes as well that an overnight fast will help to enhance. What this looks like is basically you stop eating at 7 o'clock at night. You don't start eating again until 7 o'clock the next morning. People who have the most problem with doing this are people who are late night snackers. But once again, this is a big subject, and I invite you to look into it, because doing a 12-hour overnight fast, as long as you don't have a medical condition that would keep you from doing that, and that condition is usually a instability in blood sugar, then this is definitely something to try. And one of the things we found in our small groups when people try this is they really do feel a difference and they lose weight. So if that's something you're looking to do, this is also something to take a look at. Okay.
Myra, I'm sorry. I was actually trying to interrupt you, but I had myself on mute. So I just wanted to add in terms of hydration, you mentioned that it becomes harder to feel. I mean, we can't trust our thirst reflex to make sure that we're adequately hydrated. So a lot of times people say, well, how much water do I need? And there's actually a recommendation about half of your body weight in ounces of water is what we should be shooting for. And as Myra mentioned, it's herbal teas can count as this, and water with lemon. It can be pretty lofty if you're a 150-pound person. That's 75 ounces of water. So the easy way to do that is to, if you're not already a good water drinker, get a water bottle, know how much is in there, and just start with a goal of maybe filling one a day, and then work your way up to a little bit more. But hydration is important. And then the other thing about processed foods, the sugars and the salts and the saturated fats are really the things too that are contributors to inflammation and not healthy for our brain. So again, the push to eat more whole foods, more fiber is really important in terms of our brain health. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. And the only thing I wanted to add about the hydration is that if you have kidney issues, then you do want to consult your doctor. Absolutely. About how much water is right for you, because you don't want to be consuming as much water. And just know that it is possible to overhydrate and for there to be negative consequences for that. So really it's a balance. If you are a normal, healthy person, you don't have kidney issues or sometimes heart issues, then that's a very good baseline, is half your body weight in ounces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for making that point. And the other note on hydration, which will lead perfectly into sleep, which is what's coming up next. If you want to advance the
sure
things.
Here we go.
is that if we drink too much water and too close to bedtime, then that may interrupt our sleep because we're getting up frequently to go to the bathroom at night. So it's if that is the case with you already, or if it is the case as you clean water. Okay, we'll get to that. As we're drinking water closer to bedtime, that can disrupt our sleep. So maybe after dinner time is a good time to kind of back off on your hydration, try to get most of it in during the day. But anyway, sleep is really important. We know without 7 or 8 hours of sleep, not only do we feel tired and irritable and more reactive to stress, but poor sleep does reduce our body's ability to clear out toxins in the brain. So during sleep, we have there's some important functions for our brain. And one is consolidating our memories, moving things from short term to long term when we're sleeping. And then there's also getting rid of these memories that we don't need. We don't need to remember what we had for breakfast 3 days ago. We don't need to remember things that the commercials on the TV, things like that. But our brain got all that stimulation. So at night when we're sleeping, we're actually pruning away some of that stuff that we don't need to keep in our brains. The other thing is the hallmark markers of Alzheimer's disease, which are beta amyloid plaques and tau tangles. Those build up in our brains normally anyway. Each of us have some of those little bits, but what happens during deep sleep is that it is removed from our brain. So when we're in deep sleep, part of our nightly sleep, our brains, I think Myra mentioned this a little bit, shrink up a little bit. And the glial cells, which kind of are our body's scrubbers, detox cells, they take away those toxins. So it's really important that not only do you get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, but we get good quality of sleep. There's a lot of things that affect the quality of our sleep. And as we get older, we lose out on sleep efficiency. So what we mean by that is when we go to bed, if we're in bed for 8 hours, we may not actually be getting 8 hours of sleep. We may only be getting 6 or 6.5 hours because we're waking up several times a night. So it's one of the important things about getting a good night's rest is, first of all, to bookend your night and your day. So to try to go to bed at the same time every night and try to get up at the same time in the morning is really important. I recently came across the 10-3-2-1-0 rule about sleep, so I wanted to share it with you. And 10 means that at 10 hours before bedtime, you want to cut off caffeine. And the reason that we want to cut off caffeine is because that keeps us from being able to sleep. Caffeine has a half-life of 4 to 6 hours. And so if your bedtime is 10 o'clock, then that means you're going to stop drinking caffeine by 12 o'clock. And that will help you be ready for bed. The 3 is 3 hours before bed. We want to stop drinking alcohol and stop eating heavy meals. As Myra mentioned, the 12-3 fasting, our body doesn't want to be digesting food when we should be sleeping. And so 3 hours before bed. And alcohol also, even though people like to have alcohol as a nightcap, alcohol can interfere in the stages of sleep. And then 2 is 2 hours. We want to start unwinding. So we don't want to be doing any work, anything that's mentally engaging for our brain 2 hours before bedtime. We should start working on a nice wind down, whether it's reading a book or doing some relaxation, some stretching. We want to stop doing any kind of work and mentally stimulating activities 2 hours before bed. 1 hour before bed, we want to definitely disconnect from electronics, the blue light from our phones, from our computers. Those interrupt our brain's ability to create melatonin, which is the hormone that helps us fall asleep. And so, and then the 0 is don't hit your snooze alarm in the morning. 0 times hitting the snooze button. So when you wake up in the morning and your alarm goes off, get up. Try to get up every morning at the regular time, and that will actually help. Also, getting light in the daytime in the morning helps with our circadian rhythm and helps us create that sleepiness in the evening that we need. Of course, keeping your room nice and dark and cool when you go to bed, nice bedding. There's a lot of different things. The other thing that I want to mention about sleep is if you snore, or if your partner snores, having that checked out by a healthcare provider is really important, because Undiagnosed sleep apnea or obstructive airway disease can actually rob our brain of oxygen while we're sleeping, and that is related to an increased risk in dementia. So we'll move on to the next one. Thank you. Exercise. So exercise is also really important. The trifecta of exercise is the cardiovascular, the resistance exercise, and stability and balance. And we know that when we are regularly exercising, it promotes strong blood flow of oxygen and blood to support our brain cells. Our brain is only 3 pounds, but it takes 20% of our body's energy. And so when we move our bodies, we increase the blood flow to our brains and all the different areas of our brains. We also know, which is really interesting, I think, that people, older adults who are exercisers, regular exercise, they actually have larger brain volumes when looked at with MRIs than people that don't exercise. And we know that that larger brain volume oftentimes, our brains shrink as we get a little bit older, but exercise is one of those things that slows that shrinkage and keeps our brain volume strong. We actually grow new brain cells and we grow new brain connections with something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. We get that through exercise. So what do we want to do? We want to do cardiovascular exercise, things that make our heart and our lungs work hard and bring our heart rates up, things that you want to enjoy. Sometimes people dread exercise, but find things that you like to do, whether it's gardening, whether it's walking, riding your bike, rowing, swimming, dancing. All of those things will raise your heart rates up and get your blood flowing well. We want to try to get at least 150 minutes in the week of moderate exercise. So that can be 30 minutes of walking or 22 minutes every day, 7 days a week. Then the strength training is also an important piece, especially as we get older. We also lose muscle mass. And so as we lose muscle mass, our risk and our balance is also becomes compromised. So they kind of go hand in hand, but we want to also make sure that our muscles are strong and our bones are healthy. So resistance training is really important. And by resistance training, anything that stresses our muscles to keep them maintained the strength and actually grow. So whether that's going to the gym and lifting weights, whether it's using exercise bands, whether it's using soup cans, there are so many places that we can find resources. If you've not done any strength training, you can find some classes, maybe at your local YMCA or a senior center. I know our senior center has a lot of strength training classes for older adults. Also, the YouTube and the internet is full of a lot of resources for strength training exercises. And I heard someone say you want to push, pull, hinge, and push, pull, hinge, and what's the other one? We want to move our body in all the planes in all the ways that we can. And then the last part is balance. And balance is just as important. We don't want to fall when we get older. If we fall and break a hip or break a shoulder or a knee, then that's going to lead to us being unable to connect with others, maybe not eat so healthy, be in the hospital, not doing exercise, and all those things impact our brain health overall. So finding ways that you can move and even finding people to move with you will be helpful. Next one. And then challenging your brain. I mentioned before that we want to challenge our brain to continue to grow and learn. And it is harder as we get older to learn. It's a little slower. It might take us more repetitions, more time reading things, more time reading and writing things. When you think about when we first learned how to do things in elementary school, there was a lot of writing down and memorizing. And so we have to, if you think about it, we have to spend some time learning new things to keep our brains strong and healthy. So find things you want to learn about. There's the difference there. Learn a new language. Learn how to play an instrument. Maybe you learned how the language before and you haven't used it a long time ago, or maybe you used to play the piano and you stopped playing it. Pull it out again. Try something new that's going to stimulate your brain. Doing puzzles, crossword puzzles, regular board puzzles, all kinds of card games, things that are going to use a lot of different areas of your brain is a great opportunity. Things like also I just lost my hobbies, new hobbies, there's all kinds of ways of strengthening your brain, growing new brain cells, making new connections. So find some things that you're interested and try something new.
Yep. And actually, one of the things that I've heard, Kim, is that finding something that is physically active as well as challenging your brain is one of the best things you can do, which is why something like playing tennis or learning to play a musical instrument, because you're engaging physically as well as mentally. So those are particularly good activities. Could even be putting together a crossword puzzle. Or Zumba, because Zumba, you have to, you're moving, but you also have to be using your brain because you're following the dance pattern. So many, many different opportunities here.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey,
all right, we're getting near the end of our pillars here. Socializing with loved ones. As I mentioned before, I heard someone talking. We are social beings, and our overall health and well-being depends on our social connections with others. So many studies are showing that social isolation is linked to developing dementia. And I can give you a personal example of this. My grandma was 92 during the pandemic and was living on her own. Very sharp, always did the crossword puzzles at home. And because she was stuck home, people weren't coming to visit her. She'd have the TV on all night. She was sleeping, during the day. Things got all messed up. Her memory and even just her thinking started to decline significantly. And when I look at that situation, it's because she used to have people visiting. She used to play cards with people. And all of a sudden she became isolated, and there was a significant change in her brain. So how do we connect with other people? How are your connections now? Do you have a few good friends that you do things with? Do you have groups that you belong to? It's really important. And there's a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. And that's really at the heart of this. So some people like to have alone time. Some people find it more taxing to be around others. So if you're okay doing things alone, that's fine. But if you're feeling lonely and disconnected, then that puts you at a higher risk for not only dementia, but depression. And we know depression is directly linked to dementia. So where can I find some new connections? Again, you can find them maybe at a senior center, at your church group, volunteering for an organization, taking a class, reaching out and talking to people you haven't heard from in a long time. There's lots of ways of maximizing or increasing your socialization if you feel like you need to. And then stress. Sometimes I think this is interesting in my work as a health coach with other people. They will say, I really don't have any stress. I really don't have any stress. But then when you talk to them about all the things that they have going on and all the things that they're overwhelmed with in the state of the world today, to me, those are stressors. And they do have an impact on not only our brain, but our physical bodies. So what we're talking about here is chronic stress. We're talking about the load that builds up from one thing to another to another. And when we recognize that these chronic stressors have an impact on our brains and our bodies, they are associated with high blood pressure, with weight gain, with headaches, with anxiety, with all kinds of digestive issues. Chronic stress can interfere with our sleep. And so what I like to think about first is, when I'm under stress, what do I notice about my body? Am I someone that gets headaches when I'm stressed or have a lot going on? Do I have digestive issues? Do I feel tense in my neck and my shoulders? Am I starting to get a headache? Noticing when your body's telling you you're stressed is really important. And then what can I do about it? What are the things that are stressful for me right now? Stopping and becoming aware. And then can you minimize those stressors? Can you remove some things? And for the things that you can't remove and maybe you can or cannot minimize, what are other ways that I have that are healthy ways of mitigating stress? So spending time in nature, calling a friend, doing some enjoyable, anything that you enjoy, whether it's cooking, whether it's cleaning your house. Some people find that is helpful to declutter their house, go through drawers and things like that helps them. So having something to distract you Also practicing gratitude. So sometimes just changing our perspective, instead of thinking about all the things that are bad and not going well, what's going right? What is going good in my life? What do I have to be grateful for? That's a really great antidote for stress. So there's a lot more we can say about that, but what I want to say right now is there's never too late. It's never too late to start to make some changes. So hopefully, as Myra and I have been talking, there have been some things that have come up for you that you thought, maybe I can make a change for my own brain health. And it's really important that we follow a process with helping make lasting lifestyle changes. The process is identifying goals, breaking them down into small steps, and having people to help support you with accountability. So having a system in place, having a community around you, these can all be really helpful in being successful in making some changes to not only support your brain health, but your overall health. So, all right, what I'd like you to do is look at your paper and see what you may have identified. If there's one thing that stood out in the conversation, maybe there are a lot of things, but is there one thing that you're thinking that I can identify as a goal? And go ahead and write it down. Now, I'm just going to give you an example. Some people might say, well, you know what? I really would like to exercise more. Well, that's a great idea to start off with, but how do we make this more of a specific goal? So if I want to exercise more, first of all, what does more mean? How much am I exercising now? Well, I'm really not doing anything right now. And so I want to get more specific. So I am going to say that I would like to start being able to walk 3 miles. I want to get to a point where I can walk 3 miles. Right now, I can only walk about half a mile without stopping. So that's a great, more specific goal. It's something that I can measure. And right now, I'm not walking a lot. So maybe what I could do is say by springtime, I know that there's a community 5K in my town, and it's on Mother's Day. So it's January. That gives me 4.5 months. If I have a goal to be able to walk this 5K in May. So why don't you take a minute and write down a specific goal that you would like to work on yourself. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay. Now you've got your goal in mind. My goal is that I want to be able to do a 5K or walk 3 miles without stopping by the middle of May. Let's break that down into some action steps. So how do I make this possible? And we want to start small and build on our momentum. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to register for this, because I know if I pay the money, then that's going to give me some skin in the game. So I'm going to register for this event. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I have to plan out and put in my calendar times that I can get started walking. So I want to at least start this week by walking 3 times. And half a mile is about 15 minutes. So I'm going to say 3 days this week, I'm going to walk for 15 minutes. That's my step number 2. And then I also know that it's wintertime, it's cold. I don't feel comfortable walking in the ice or the snow. So if it is icy and snowy out, I'm going to identify something else that I can do instead. So I know that I can find a YouTube video, or I can just turn on some music and I can set my timer and I can walk in place in my kitchen for 15 minutes. And I'm going to do this at 9 a.m. after I've had my breakfast before I have to start work. So those are my 3 steps. and that will get me started. But it's really important that we really encourage you all to take the time to think through what you'd like to have as a goal and some action steps to get started for yourself. So you can take another, do we have time to take another minute or two? Yeah, write out your action steps.
Yeah, a couple minutes. Yeah.
Okay. What will your action steps be? Okay, well, if you haven't quite finished up your action steps, that's your homework assignments. And I really encourage you to share your goal with someone else that can help you be accountable, whether it's your partner, a child, your adult children, friends, whomever that might be. Share your goals, and also share our message at Sharp Again. So that's 2 steps actually we want you to walk away from. A step for yourself, and really to share this message of hope, how we all can make a big difference in our brain health.
I just wanted to ask if anybody has something that they have come up with that they'd like to share with this group. It's not required, but we always love to hear from participants. You can put it in the chat or you can raise your hand if there's something that, because as Kim said, sharing it with the group actually helps make it real. And we'd love to hear if you have something you'd like to share. I just like to share that I'm going to be improving my quality of sleep by doing some things that Kim had talked about. One of them is I tend to drink most of my water at night. And so just being mindful of not drinking water after 7 o'clock, unless it's a little glass of water, and really drinking more water during the day. And also not checking my email after dinner, not getting on my computer, my phone, anything after dinner, to allow my nervous system to kind of unwind a little bit and not be reactive to something that I've read or an email that I think I absolutely positively have to respond to just leave it till the next day. So those are a couple of things that I'm going to do to get better sleep.
There's some good things coming in the chat, I noticed. If I may address Jill, I see you said you thought, oh, I keep hearing someone. Is someone talking?
No, I think you're getting an echo maybe.
Oh, of mine. Okay. Jill said, I think I thought I drank enough water, but knowing I have to drink half my body weight, I need to increase. So I'm not sure how you feel about your hydration right now, what you feel is enough. And it's a good target. This is coming from the nursing part of me. Another way to make sure that we're hydrated enough is to look at the color of your urine. And if it's clear to very light pale, then we know that we're being well hydrated. If it's a darker yellow color, then we definitely don't need enough, or that we need some more water. So I don't know if that is helpful, Jill. Chair yoga, yes, is considered exercise, stretching and strengthening. So thank you for bringing it up. It's a very good mind-body practice too, to help regulate your breathing. There's a lot of good benefits from chair yoga, Anne.
Yep. And see, Kathleen says I need to stop the TV, phone, and computer earlier at night. Yes, well, that's something that we all can kind of get sucked into. One of the things that you might try is if there's a particular time at night when you tend to just sort of habitually start habitually start looking at the TV, the phone, the computer, is find something else to do. Okay, find something else to do during that period, because what you want to do is interrupt that pattern. So that may be sitting down and reading a book. It may be doing a little bit of cleaning. It may be knitting, whatever it is you like. The thing that you really want to do is break that habitual pattern. And what does that look like for you? And let's see if we've got another one here.
Well, Jill asked if we could show the slide with the lifestyle, 6 pillars of brain health, and we will be sending a recording out so you would be able to have access. I don't know if you can slide back though. Maybe she just wants to take a picture of that, Myra.
Yeah, I can do that. I just wanted to see, I see that Yvonne, hi Yvonne, nice to see you. You had a serious fall with lots of consequences. Among other things, you need to start your basic physical therapy, then a half a mile of walking. Okay, well, I know you, and I happen to know that you are a health coach. So, so you kind of know how to do this, and just know that we're all here supporting you in recovering from your fall and getting better. Let me go back to these. Okay, I think this is what you were wanting to look at here, Jill. So hopefully, and we will be sending out, Jen will be sending out an email tomorrow. Also, you can look on our website, because our website has a lot of this information. Physical therapy, and yes, physical therapy is the very best. And it's something that, I mean, I've read something that said going to the physical therapist should be like going to the dentist, although it's not really that easy, is it right? Because you need a prescription. But physical therapy can be very, very helpful.
Well, we're a few minutes over. We probably need to wrap up and share the last couple slides, Myra, or
Yeah, I'm just going to go. I hope you got to see this slide here. I just want to go to the very end of our presentation. And just this is just about some next steps that you could take. Visit our, as I just said, visit our website to learn about brain health and get valuable resources. Our website is chock full of all kinds of great information. Check out our coaching programs. As Joan mentioned, our January program is full, but we do have a program beginning June 10th, and registration for that will open I'd say in the next month or so, and you'll get an email about that. If you have any questions, email us at info@sharpagain.org, and we will be happy to answer your questions to the best of our ability. Our book, Minding Your Memory, is a great book. It's very readable. It dives into all of the factors we talked about today. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookshop.org. So that's, and I think it's like $20. It's not expensive. And support Sharp Again with a donation, because that's our lifeblood, is donations. So if you are inclined, you can donate directly from our website and sign up for our email. So if you're not already on our email list, which on this call you most likely are, but you can pass this information along. We don't send out a lot of emails. We do send out one at the beginning of every month that is pretty educational. We go through and we pulled from different articles that we find on the internet and bring them to you. We also have usually a coach's corner, where one of our coaches writes a short article that we think would be of interest to you. And our most popular feature is our healthy recipe. And yes, we do not share our email list, and we only send out about 4 to 6 a month, just to keep you apprised of what's going on, and with webinars and programs. Okay, so this is our Q&A. We are just a little bit over time. If you need to leave, that's great. If you have a question you'd like to ask, now would be the time to do it.
I think we got most of the questions in already.
Okay, I think so. Yep. Thank you. All right.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Someone said a question about the mind diet. Other diet.
The mind diet. Oh, the mind diet. So we have the mind diet is a combination of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet, Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. So the Mediterranean diet you're probably very familiar with. The DASH diet was created actually for heart health. I think that Dr. Dean Ornish is the author of the DASH diet. The MIND diet it's just a combination of those two, and you can find the MIND diet book it's on Amazon, and I have the book. It's got recipes in the back. And it's just one that people find much easier to follow.
And
In
the MIND
some
diet
ways,
was actually, oops, sorry. The MIND
That's
diet
right,
was
go ahead.
actually, the MIND diet was actually studied in a lot of dementia prevention and research. So they had people following the MIND diet, and they actually improved their cognitive performance more
Yeah,
closely following
and
MIND
and
diet.
and and although the Mediterranean diet may in some ways be healthier, people find it very difficult to follow. So the MIND diet, one of the reasons it's so efficient is because it is a healthy way of eating and people follow it. It's much easier to do it and not fall off of it. So yeah, okay.
I can include the healthy food choices chart that we use
Yeah,
in the coaching program in my email tomorrow.
yeah, that would be great because it's based on the MIND diet.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Well, thank you, everybody.
and
So
thank
good
you,
to see you
Myra
all
and
here.
Kim.
And
Thank you.
we'll see you
Yeah.
again soon.
Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
both. I'm going to stop our recording.
Okay, great.
If I can find my little cursor thing.